Hello friends, today presentation is on quality of service in 5G network. This is an updated presentation. I am Ashok Kumar. Content for this session would be 5G network functions. So I'll be explaining the network functions of 5G so that when we talk about quality of service, we are able to understand. Then we'll talk about PDU session, protocol data unit session, and quality of service flow. 5G quality of service architecture, how 3GPP has defined 5G quality of service architecture, we will dwell upon. Then we'll talk about default quality of service flow, GBR quality of service flow, that is guaranteed bitrate quality of service flow, quality of service flow and network slice, quality of service types and parameters. What are the various parameters which are to be met while maintaining quality of service? What is alternative quality of service profile? Then we'll talk about 5QI characteristics, 5G quality of service identifier. What are the characteristics of that? Then we'll talk about standard values of 5QI defined by 3GPP. And then we will talk about quality of service rule, quality of service profile, and SDF template, how these are used for a quality of service flow. And finally, we'll compare the quality of service component of 5G with 4G. Moving forward. So this presentation is based on 3GPP specification TS23.501. This specification is for system architecture for 5G system. It gives quality of service model. So I would recommend that you can download it from 3GPP website and read this document. So let's start looking at 5G network architecture, all the network function which 5G have. So this diagram is a service-based architecture of 5G network, wherein control plane network functions are connected on a common bus and they interact with each other on API. So that's why we call it service-based architecture. And all these nodes are actually not nodes but a software process. So that means these network functions can be deployed on any commercially off the shelf hardware or any data centers or even onto the cloud. This could be telco cloud, this could be third-party cloud. Onto the lower side, we have elements which are called user plane function, because all the user traffic will pass on through the user plane. The traffic is not required to go to the core and again come back. The entire user plane traffic will pass from UE to radio access network to user plane function to the data network. The upper part, as I said, is a control plane network functions. And now the pipe which we have drawn is indicative of PDU session, protocol data unit session, which is used to carry the traffic of the UE either on to the uplink direction or onto the downlink direction. So let us first talk about uh, the basic functions of all the network element. Let me tell you first name of this network element, and I'll be explaining about their function. Let's go one by one. So the first network function which we will talk about is AMF. AMF is access and mobility function. So as the name suggests, access and mobility functions. So one of the major function of AMF is mobility management. So when we say mobility management, AMF actually knows the location of user equipment or mobile. If the user equipment is say active, then AMF will know the cell ID where that user equipment is located. If the user equipment is not connected and idle, so it will at least know the tracking area where user equipment is present. Tracking area is a cluster of cells or G node B put together, that is called tracking area. So these are the mobility related function of AMF. The next function is the access management. So whenever UE want to latch onto the network or register to the network, AMF plays a key role. AMF also allocate temporary ID to the user equipment. That is called GUTI in case of 5G and 4G, globally unique temporary ID. In the earlier mobile technology, we used to call TIMC. So that temporary ID is used by UE for identifying itself onto the network. The first time it will interchange its ID, that is concealed subscription ID SUKI. Subsequently, it uses the GUTI so that the subscription ID is not exposed onto the radio network. So it uses a temporary ID issued by or allocated by AMF. And the temporary ID which AMF issues to a particular UE is actually not constant. The AMF keeps on changing the temporary ID on a frequent basis on certain processes. For example, whenever it want to update its location, whether it's a mobility update or tracking area update, at that point of time, AMF will issue a new GUTI temporary ID. The temporary ID is also used for paging purpose. Whenever a network is paging a particular UE, the temporary ID is used. And of course, registration and security are the two important role which AMF has to play, along with the other network function, of course. So during initial registration and all those security exchange, AMF plays a key role. Now let's move on to the next important network element, which is SMF. SMF stands for Session Management Function. So as the name suggests, one of the important function is the session management. Just recall the PDU session, the pipe we drew in the previous slide. So that is a PDU session, so protocol data unit session. So establishment of PDU session is actually done by SMF, session management function. And in case that PDU session is required to be modified to manage certain service or give certain quality of service, so those modification to the session management in terms of resource allocation and all is done again by session SMF, session management function. And in case a PDU session is to be tiered down, so tiering down of the session is also done by SMF. So the entire session management is done by SMF. So the PDU session which we saw in the previous slide is nothing but series of connection from user equipment to RAN radio access network, that is G node B in 5G, to the user plane function and then to the data network. The pipe which we drawn is nothing but a series of connections. So that particular connection, the PDU session connectivity, is actually taken care by SMF. And finally, the user plane selection, as traffic has to pass to one of the user plane function in the network, depending upon what service is being assessed. So the selection of user plane function is done by SMF. So we were actually talking about this PDU session. So this is created by SMF. Modification required, that is also done by SMF. Tearing down is also done by SMF, and the selection of UPF for a PDU session is also done by SMF. Now moving to the next network element, which is user plane function itself. So what is the function which user plane function takes care of? So as we saw that the PDU session passes through the UPF, so the packet routing and forwarding either towards the data network or back to the UV is actually done by UPF. So this is one of the important functions. And if a user equipment moves from one cell to other cell or from one G node B to other G node B, so that is either intra or inter-RAT mobility. RAT is radio access technology. In our case, it is G node B. In case of a 5G, it is G node B. It could be any access technology, as 5G supports that. So whenever a UE moves from, say, one G node B to other G node B, the common anchor point which remains is user plane function. So although G node B is changing, but user plane function is not changing. So UPF becomes an anchor point for intra and inter-RAT mobility. And since user plane function sits right onto the user plane itself, where all the traffic is passing, so that is a place where quality of service flows can be enforced. If a particular service requires a set of quality of service parameters, so those are enforced at the UPF level. So UPF enforces that, and any other policies which is given by PCF is also enforced at UPF level. And user plane function has to connect to the SMF for all session related aspect. As session will be managed by SMF, so all the instructions which SMF gives to UPF, UPF has to enforce that. So for that purpose, it will connect to SMF for all session related aspect. Now coming to the next network element, which is PCF, policy control function. So as the name suggests, that policy control function is for dynamic policy decisions. So depending upon the conditions which is presently there onto the network, all those dynamic decisions are taken by PCF. For example, if a user is in an area where there are less resources or there are no resources, so in case it is required, it takes a decision to throttle down the speed of a particular user depending upon the condition, and that is passed on to SMF, and then UPF enforces that. And suppose a user equipment want to avail a service, but at that point of time resources are not available, so even PDU session will not be created because there is no resource available. So that kind of dynamic decision is taken by policy control function. So that means it has an ability to alter mobility as well as session related all the service aspect, and all those policy rules, as the name suggests, it is policy control functions. So the policy rules are actually provided by PCF to other related network function. So for example, if you look at establishment of a quality of service, so QoS rule it gives to user equipment, of course through SMF and other network elements, or the QoS profile which is sent to Z node B is also derived from the uh, rule which is provided by PCF, and so on. So it provides all the policy rules to control network functions related to policy and charging. And of course, to this PCF will connect to SMF, UDM, and to the data network for the functions which it has to do. It needs to connect to SMF, UDM, and data network. Now the next network element in the line is all other network function which is left. So first would be UDM. So this is your UDM. So UDM is Unified Data Management. So it stands for Unified Data Management. So all the user related information is actually kept here in UDM. So this is a kind of a central repository of user information. So all the subscription data which user is registered with is with UDM. Not only that, the profile of data network. So this data network could be an internet, could be an IMS, could be an service which is offering, say, augmented reality. It could be a service which is offering video streaming, and so on. So the profile of all the data networks are also uh, uh, kept here in the UDM, and which subscriber is or which UE can access which kind of a data network, that profile is also kept here. In addition, all the security keys are with UDM. So if you understand, during the initial registration, so whenever UE sends the concealed subscription ID, SUKI, so those are to be decrypted using the private key which is there in the UDM. So the UDM does that. So all those security and access authorization functions are with the UDM. So moving to the next network element, which is the application function, AF, this one. So as the name suggests, it is the application function. So different kind of application which an operator want to offer either directly or through third party. Those are called application functions. So IMS could be one application function. So basically it's a kind of the application which connects to the 5G core network onto the control plane. So this could be either part inside the core network, or it could be even outside if it is a third party application function. And this, if it is a third party application function, so it actually connects to the 5G core network through NEF, because we will talk about this. This is network exposure function. So it provides an API which is used by the application functions to connect to the 5G core, so that they can interact with PCF policy control function, so that all those policy controls are taken care. For example, if an application requires a specific quality of service, then it tells PCF that a particular user user want to use the services offered by a particular AF, then PCF provides all the rules so that a particular quality of service is managed. So PCF gives rule to SMF, and SMS finally gives to UPF, RAN, and the UE. So all those functions are done by application function, service as well as control, real policy control. And now AUSF is authentication server function, so it acts as a authentication server. So AVSF is here, you can see. Now the next network element which we want to talk about is the network exposure function. So I already explained that network exposure function exposes a connectivity or the API for all third-party application. For example, OSS and BSS, which require certain aggregate data for operation support and management support. Uh, those are connected to NEF. Through NEF, it gets the data. Any third-party application getting connected to a 5G core network is also connected through the NEF. So that's why it is called network exposure function. The next important network element which is very relevant for 5G is the NRF, because it is a service based architecture and all those network functions are software processes. So this is used for discovery of the network functions. For example, if suppose a new access and mobility function is created or installed, that is a software process kind of. So at that point of time, it has to register itself onto the NRF. So its IP address, its fully qualified domain name, etc. will be registered with the NRF. Now NRF knows the kind of address of AMF. So any other network function, if they have to interact with the AMF, they will first discover this AMF by talking to NRF, and then they can interact to that network element using the API interface. So the NRF is the NF network function repository function. It does a service verification functions. It maintains network functions profile and available NF instances. For example, there could be n number of AMF onto the network. So for each instance, it will have its address. And now let us talk finally about the network slice selection function. So in case of 5G, the core network or the radio network can be virtually divided into slices for different kind of scenarios. For example, if an operator want to have a separate slice for enhanced broadband, so these network function will be virtually divided, and a particular slice will offer EMBB, enhanced mobile broadband. There could be another slice which may offer, say, ultra reliable low latency kind of services. There could be a third slice which is for IoT or massive mobile type communication. So there could be n number of slices which a 5G core may have, and so the selection of a particular slice is done by NSSF. So that name itself says that it is a network slice selection function. Now let us talk about more on PDU session and quality of service flows. As I said, in 5G, so you have a completely separated user plane. So that means all the user traffic will pass through this, and it is not required to go to the core function. So traffic, of course, signaling will be there with the uh, control network functions. For example, UE talks to AMF on N1 interface and radio access network on N2. User plane function gets connected to the N on N3 and interacts with SMF on N4, and this interface is called N6. So basically, if you look at the user plane, so it is completely separated out from control plane. If you understand the 4G, 3G and other network elements, so there it's a mixed up. The control plane network functions also acts as some of the user plane function and vice versa. But in 5G it has been completely separated out. And separated out user plane actually enables that we can have this entire thing located near to the user. So this UPF and data network, particular data network, can be near to the user so that latency requirements are met. The traffic is not required to go to the core and come back. So you save on bandwidth, backhaul, and also your latency requirement, because traffic has not traveled so much. So latency will be improved. And since control plane is separated out completely, and these are not network function but the software processes which can be deployed on any commercially off the shelf server or onto any data network or the cloud. So now these software processes can be either installed in the telco owned cloud, or it could be deployed on a third party cloud, for example Amazon Web Service or Microsoft Azure or the Google, the platform, which cloud platform which it has. So now operator has an opportunity that they may have some of the network function into their own cloud and some of it, or some more instances onto third party to have more resilience and more reliability. So that's how we call it service-based architecture of 5G. And the PDU session is created onto the user plane to carry the data traffic. And how quality of service is managed, we'll talk about in upcoming slide. So this is again, we have drawn the pipe, which is a PDU session. So protocol data unit session, which is onto the user plane and carries the data, and it connects to the data network. So you have user equipment here. We have shown mobile, but it could be any kind of user equipment. It could be any object, machine, car, aeroplane, because 5G would be supporting machine type communication also. And if it has to carry traffic, so every time a PDU session will be created. Now, whenever a mobile or a user equipment initially enters into the network, so during the initial registration, once initial registration is completed, a PDU session is created for the user equipment so that it can use it for transferring data. And a PDU session, which it will be kind of unique to a user equipment. So this will not be shared by any other UE. So every UE after registrations for it will have a separate PDU session. So a PDU session, a particular PDU session will be unique to a particular user equipment. Now the service which a user equipment want to avail, that can be requiring different quality of service. For example, the user equipment may be wanting to access just normal internet. In that case, it will require a quality of service which can be a best effort. If it is, say, trying to do a voice call, voice over 5G, so voice will require a guaranteed bit rate. So it will require a different set of quality of service. Similarly, if it is accessing this user equipment is suppose a self-driving car, in that case the requirement of ultra reliability and low latency comes into picture. So the quality of service required for that kind of user equipment would be different. So the PDU session, inside a PDU session, different quality of service flow will be there. So for example, there will be a quality of service flow for just browsing, there will be quality of service flow say for video streaming, and so on. And within the PDU session, these quality of service flow are to be identified. So they are identified using a concept called quality of service flow ID, QFI, right? So within the PDU session, a particular quality of service flow will be there, and which will be identified by the QFI, quality of service flow ID. And as I said that one UE at the same time within the same PDU session may have n number of quality of service flow for different services it is availing at that point of time. And every service may have a different set of quality of service, so and those will be identified by QFI, quality of service flow ID. So the QoS flow is actually established or modified or removed depending upon the requirement of the user plane traffic. So initially, for example, when user equipment is registered, I said that one PDU session is created, and then suppose it is and a default quality of service flow will also be added to this PDU session, and onto the default QoS flow it will start accessing, say, internet or best effort services. But as soon as it requires, say, a voice call, another QoS flow is added to this PDU session with separate ID and so on, so that it can have n number of QoS flow within that, and that will be identified by QFI. So just to summarize that, after initial registration, a PDU session is established for a user equipment. PDU session is protocol data unit session, and then every PDU session will be unique to a UE. That means one PDU session will be for one UE. Of course, UE can have more than one PDU session, but one PDU session will not be shared by more than one UE. And all the quality of service is enforced at the QoS flow level, the smaller pipe which we drew. At that level, that is called QoS flow level, all this quality of service is maintained, and that will be within the PDU session. So every quality of service flow, those packets need to be classified and marked with a QFI, so that the quality of service related to that QFI or defined for that QFI is actually provided onto the network, onto the radio side and also beyond that. And then one UE can have multiple QoS flow, the multiple smaller pipes which we draw within the PDU session. So now let's talk about 5G quality of service architecture, which is there in the 5G. As per 3GPP specification, which we talked about, the quality of service architecture is like this. So this, it is considered this as a UE, user equipment. It could be mobile, it could be any other device. The middle part is your radio access network. We call it G node B. In 4G it was E node B, here it is G node B. And then you have a user plane function which routes or forward the traffic and does user plane function related other functions. And then you have data network. So the yellow pipe which you see is the PDU session, protocol data unit session. The pipe which we drawn earlier, here it is represented in yellow color. So whenever a UE registers onto the network, or subsequently if it want to use data, so a PDU session is created for the user. So the yellow part is a PDU session. Now this PDU session will require certain resources onto the radio side and of course onto the UPF, G node B2 UPF also. So what are those resources? Onto the radio side, it is data radio bearer, DRB. So within a PDU session, at least one DRB, so the blue color which you see here is a DRB, the pipe, and it is between UE and G node because it is onto the radio side, air interface side. So at least one DRB will be allocated for that PDU session, and if required, there may be more DRB allocated. So in the diagram, there is a second DRB shown here. This is say DRB1 blue one, and this orange one pipe is the DRB2. So data radio bearer. So within the PDU session, one or more than one, minimum one, but it could be more data radio bearers depending upon how many quality of service flows are required by a particular UV, those DRBs are allocated. Onto this side, G node B to UPF, this is called GPRS tunneling protocol, N3 GTP U tunnel. So here it is a common tunnel. This the bigger gray pipe is a common tunnel wherein all QS flow will be there. So it's not here you have DRBs, one or more than one DRB here, but you have a single GTP-U tunnel. So GTP is GPRS tunneling protocol. U stands for user plane, and N3 is the interface between G node B and UPF. So that's why it is called N3 GTP-U tunnel. So now let us assume that initially a DRB is allocated within a PDU session, and onto that QS flow ID 1 QS flow is added, right? So, and this could be a default QS flow. Subsequently, user may be accessing some other service, so a second QS flow will be established within the same PDU session. And let us assume that it also requires a third service, and for third service a new DRB is given, and onto that QS flow ID 3 is added to it. So in the diagram you see that within the same PDU session you have 3 QS flow, so 3 kind of services it is accessing, and onto the radio side 2 DRB is allocated. In one DRB you have 2 services, or possibly there may be a non-guaranteed bitrate services, so that same DRB, and QS flow 3 may be a guaranteed flow bitrate, so a separate DRB established. But onto the N3 GTP-U tunnel, a single tunnel is there, but within that tunnel all those quality of service are identified and treated according to the quality of service requirements. So this is how 5G QoS architecture is. Now let us talk about types of QoS flow. So how many types of, we talked about guaranteed, non-guaranteed. So the QoS flow with guaranteed bitrate, GBR is guaranteed bitrate. So 5G supports quality of service flow, these flows, which may have guaranteed bitrate, or quality of service flow with NGBR, non-guaranteed bitrate. So that may not, a quality of service flow may not require guaranteed bitrate, so that is also supported. And since 5G supports ultra reliable low latency kind of services, so there is a third type of QoS flow which is called delay critical GBR. So where reliability is important and packet delay would be not, packet delay will have a problem, so packet delay has to be less or no packet delay. So it is called delay critical guaranteed bitrate. And there is a new concept, the fourth type of QoS flow, which is called reflective QoS. So what is reflective QoS? So what user equipment does is that onto the downlink direction, whatever packet or IP flow it is getting, it reads the QoS parameters from there and applies the same QoS onto the uplink side. So when it applies a derived QoS flow from downlink onto the uplink direction, it is called reflective QoS, and this is supported in 5G network, and this is an optional thing. So a network may support or a network may not support. As per 3GPP it is optional, but this becomes very important because if you use reflective QoS, a lot of signaling is avoided, because every time UV is provided with QoS rule for every QoS flow, and that comes onto the signaling. So that would be avoided in case it uses the reflective QoS. So some overhead will be avoided. Now let's summarize whatever we studied in the section 2, that for an user equipment there could be one PDU session, so one is minimum, and there could be more than one PDU session for a UE, and within the PDU session there will be at least one data radio bearer. So whenever a PDU session is established, one DRB is also allocated. Some default DRB is allocated. So as we may require and maybe accessing different services, so additional DRB for QoS flows that PDU session subsequently may be required will be given. So there will be minimum one DRB, and there could be more than one DRB as per the requirement of the UE accessing different services. So the packet which UE is getting, or from downlink direction UPF is getting, so onto the radio side those are mapped to different DRB. So within the PDU session and within the different PDU sessions, those DRBs are to be traffic or the packets are to be classified and to map to different DRBs onto the radio sites. There will be a mapping at the UE level and at the G node B level, uplink direction at the UE level and downlink direction Z node B level, so that those packets are mapped to a particular DRB. And the 5G supports guaranteed bitrate, non-guaranteed bitrate, delay critical guaranteed bitrate, GBR, and the reflective quality of service which we talked about. Now let us talk about slightly in detail about quality of service flow mapping. So how the IP flow which is coming from downlink direction and then to the uplink direction, so how those are mapped for different quality of service onto radio side and also onto the between G node B and UPF, how those are managed. So again this diagram, onto the left side you have user equipment, in the middle you have G node B, which is radio access network. So G node B is a kind of a radio access network in 5G, and then you have user plane function, and beyond that you have a data network. That could be internet, that could be IMS, that could be any other type of data network. In this example we are taking traffic in the downlink direction just for this example. So let us assume that one user equipment is actually using some services which is a kind of a internet type of traffic. We call it internet PDU. So it could be some of the internet PDU could have best effort service, that it will not have a specific quality of service. So whatever can be given, it will be given. There could be, say, WhatsApp video, there could be, say, Skype video, there could be YouTube stream. So these all are internet traffic and may require say default QoS flow or any other kind of QoS flow. The second service which we are taking for this example is Netflix PDU. So all the services which Netflix offer, the streaming, this is shown here, it is coming from Netflix PDU. And the third we are considering as a IMS for voice call and the video call. So these are IMS PDU. So all these IP flows will enter into user plane function. So their user plane function need to actually filter, apply some kind of filter, we call it SDF, service data flows or traffic flows, so templates. So using that templates, SDF template and TFT template, user plane function will actually filter out these IP flows so that it applies a certain quality of service. So what it does is it filters and then it applies a QFI. as I said, that quality of service flow ID, every type of quality of service will be identified by QFI. So here in this example, the best effort traffic which it is coming to UPF, so it filters and understand that it is in best effort service, so it will apply a label called say QFI1, quality of service flow 1, which may be for best effort. Although other traffic, video related traffic, and that could be say Skype video and WhatsApp video. So the filtering definition here is such that these two will be combined and given a similar or the same quality of service QFI2. So WhatsApp video and Skype video are being treated as quality of service flow type 2, and the YouTube video is separately being treated, and it is says being given quality of service flow 3, QFI3. So quality of service requirement is different. And for Netflix there is a separate quality of service flow 4, and for IMS voice you have QS flow 5, and for IMS video you have quality of service flow 6. So all these mapping are done by UPF, and then traffic flows onto the tunnel, GTPU tunnel, which we discussed, and it reaches the G node B on this N3 interface. So now here the next function is the second level of mapping. The first level of mapping happens here at UPF in downlink direction. Second level of mapping has to happen onto the radio side. So the radio resources are called here data radio bearer, as we discussed. So now G node B has to decide that which traffic it will be putting on different DRB. So suppose it has established say DRB1 in that video session, and subsequently it has established DRB2, 3, 4 and 5. So what it is deciding here is that the best effort kind of services, which is QFI1 in this example, is allocated DRB1, data radio bearer 1. So these are set of radio resources in time and frequency domain, and this QFI2 and QFI3 here, they would be there in the DRB2. So they are allocating DRB2, and these two QS, as I said that one DRB may have one QS flow or it can accommodate more than one. So in this example, QS flow 2 and 3 are mapped to DRB2. So DRB3 is dedicated for QS flow 4, and DRB4 is dedicated for QS flow 5, and DRB5 is dedicated for QS flow 6. So this is how it is being mapped. This is just an example. It could be a different mapping practically depending upon what configuration an operator has done onto the network, and then those DRBs are mapped, and once it reaches user equipment, it will again filter it out into respective IP flow, and those services will be used. So in 5G, to manage this mapping at this level, DRB mapping in uplink and downlink direction, a new protocol stack was introduced, that is called SDAP, Service Data Adoption Protocol. This was done only for managing the quality of service onto the radio side mainly. This was not there in the 4G. So this is a two-step quality of service flow mapping. So the first step is here onto the UPF, wherein you different IP flows coming from internet or Netflix or IMS is actually filtered out, and a particular QFI, quality of service flow ID, is assigned and is treated accordingly. And onto the radio side, second mapping is done, wherein we map those QS flow onto different DRB. So two-step QS flow mapping. This is in downlink direction. A similar thing happens in the uplink direction. So traffic which is going to uplink, so there the first level of mapping is done by UE, wherein it assigns a particular QFI, and then a DRB is also selected, and so on. So similar process is there for uplink direction also. Now the same diagram in a different picture. This picture is taken from 3GPP specification itself. So as I said that for downlink direction, so this is UPF, although it's shown as gateway and here E node B. Consider this as UPF and this as G node B. So here the mapping or the filtering which is applied at UPF level to segregate different type of packets requiring different QoS requirement. So those filtering and then the mapping to a QFI is done here. So that is called NAS filter because it is happening at NAS level. In uplink direction, the UE does that. So that particular filtering and assigning a QFI value. So here it is UPF, here it is UE. So this is called NAS level filter. Now the second level mapping which is done for allocating to a DRB or mapping to a DRB. So in downlink direction it is done by G node B, and in the uplink direction it is done by UE itself, of course as per instruction of G node B. So it is done by UE. So this is called AS level filter. So this is AS filter, this is NAS filter. So two level mapping. As I said that in 5G, a new protocol SDAP layer has been introduced to manage quality of service, and rest of other protocol stacks are same as 4G. Of course, there will be certain change in the function because the QoS flow is entirely managed here, and there could be certain other requirement, but broadly it is same. So we are not going to discuss today. But just to introduce that service data adoption protocol is a new protocol to manage quality of service in 5G, which is only between UE and G node B. It doesn't go beyond that. So let's summarize about the two-step quality of service flow mapping. So there is a one-to-many relationship between DRB and GTU channels. So there will be in a PDU session there will be one or more than one DRB, but they will pass on to a single GTPU tunnel. So GTPU tunnel is per PDU session basis, and then every QoS flow in a PDU session will be mapped to a single GTPU tunnel. So as we saw that within the PDU session we have multiple quality of service flow. So those will pass on to a single GTPU tunnel. So they may have different DRB, or one DRB may have more than one QoS flow, but the GTPU tunnel is same for a PDU session for all the quality of service flows within that PDU session. And as I said that a DRB may accommodate one QoS flow, or one QoS flow may have more than one DRB also, depending upon the requirement. So basically the relation is one PDU session, there could be multiple QoS flow within the PDU session, and there will be at least one DRB for a PDU session. There could be more than one DRB. One DRB may have one QoS flow or more than one QoS flow, but it will have a single GTPU tunnel. So this is the relationship of all the flows which you have. So one DRB may transport one or more quality of service flow. The downlink PDU session information frame includes reflective QoS indicator RQI. So that means we talked about reflective QoS. Whenever there is a reflective QoS which can be applied by UE, in that case in the downlink direction the packet will have RQI value, reflective QoS indicator. So unless RQI is present in the downlink direction, the UE is not supposed to apply reflective QoS. So let's talk about, this is very important, let's talk about the default QoS flow, when and how it is established. So let us see this example wherein we have shown three user equipment 1, user equipment 2 and user equipment 3, and this part here is a PDU session for UE1, and this is PDU session for UE2 and this is PDU session for UE3. So we will talk about doing the initial registration whenever a UE registers onto network, or later on it's want to have some kind of traffic. So initially a PDU session will be created for the UE, and then once a PDU session is created, at least one DRB onto the radio side will be allocated, and of course there will be a GTP tunnel, and onto that DRB and GTP tunnel there will be at least one QS flow, default QS flow assigned. So you see this, the non-GBR default QS flow is actually assigned. So this is done for even UE2 and UE3. So whenever, what we are trying to say that whenever UE is registered onto the network, a PDU session is created. Onto the PDU sessions, some DRB will be allocated and a non-GBR default QS flow ID will be assigned. So all the three UE1, UE2 and UE3 have this, the green one, a default QS flow is added to it. And all the internet traffic or the best effort traffic can be passed on to this QS flow which has been created for that particular UE. So UE can enjoy all those best effort services which it may have. Now let's see that in the next scenario, the UE is, all the three UEs are already having a default QS flow, that is the green one. And the UE1 want to utilize one service which requires guaranteed bitrate. Maybe let us assume that it want to access video streaming. So what it will do is the user equipment using the default QS flow which is already established, will talk to the application function offering that video streaming service, that it want to avail video streaming service. So at that point of time, that particular application function will talk to PCF and inform about a particular UE wanting the service. Now PCF will create some kind of PCC rule which will go to SMF, and SMF will instruct UPF, radio access network and user equipment. So some rule to user equipment, some rule to UPF and some profile to RAN, and will ask to create a QS flow which is GBR type of QS flow, say QF5101. So the SDF, service data flow of video streaming, will now be passing through the GBR QS flow which has just been established for the UE onto separate DRB. Here you can see that separate DRB has been established. The GTP tunnel is same. So this is one topmost SDF, the white color which you see. This is a service data flow, that is within the QS flow. This is the video streaming service which is passing. Now parallelly, suppose UE again want to avail some other service, maybe augmented reality service being offered by, say, the same AF, same application function or some other application functions. So again it will ask PCF that a particular UE want to avail augmented reality service, and again it creates some kind of PCC rule, goes to SMF and then goes to UE, radio access network and UPF, and what is decided that the augmented reality service have same QS flow which a video streaming is having. That's just an example. So what it will do is it will not create a new QS flow, but within the same GBR QS flow it will add the new SDF, service data flow of augmented reality. So if two service requires same kind of QF quality of service, then within the same QS flow the second SDF can be added. And if it required, suppose, some different treatment related to quality of service, then it will be created a new QS flow, maybe on a separate TRB. But in our case, we have plotted both the SDF on the same GBR. So this is how guaranteed bitrate QS flow may be established for a particular UV. Now let's talk about quality of flow and network slices. So as we discussed that in 5G there is a concept of network slice. So there could be a division of the core network into virtual elements, virtual network functions. Those can be separated out and those will be treated as a separate slice of the network for offering different services. In this example, suppose you have two slices, slice 1 and slice 2, and slice 1 may have again two kind of quality of service, say QS flow A and QS flow B, and slice 2 may be offering, say, QS flow C. So every network slice can support one or more than one quality of service for different kind of services. And since quality of service has to maintain end to end, so not only radio or not only the core part, but even the back haul and front haul, whatever we have, so there we need to take care of end to end quality of service. So let us now talk about different quality of service types and the various parameters which it has. So look at this box. So we have two kind of QS flow, GBR and non-GBR flow. So guaranteed bitrate flow and non-guaranteed bitrate flow. So GBR could be even the critical, delay critical GBR. So those are clubbed here. In case of non-GBR flow, non-guaranteed bitrate flow, there are three main parameters, QS flow parameters, 5QI, ARP and RQA. In case of a GBR, in addition to these, you also have GFBR, MFBR, notification control and maximum packet loss rate. This 5QI is an scalar and it will have different characteristics which will be defined. The resource type, whether it's a GBR, non-GBR, default priority label, PDB, PER, default maximum data burst volume and default averaging window. Don't worry, we'll talk about each one of it in subsequent slide. So now let's talk about these different 5G new radio QS parameters. So the 5G QS identifier, that is called 5QI, which is a scalar and which has got various characteristics. So we will discuss this in detail in the next slide. Now the next parameter is allocation and retention priority. For a service flow, we talked about service flow of YouTube, service flow related to video streaming. So those are called SDF, service data flow, that is accommodated within a QS flow. So every SDF will have allocation and retention priority. For example, if a new SDF want to enter onto 5G system, as you want to use that service, and for example, let us assume that the SDF which we want to access now have higher ARP value, allocation and retention priority, and the service which is already being run into the network have ARP value compared to this, the lower one, and there is a resource crunch within the network. So what will happen is that the existing SDF may be dropped and this may be allocated or can be admitted, right? So this is how allocation of a new ARP, how priority is given for allocation of a new SDF service. Similarly, if as I said that if a new ARP is being entered and you don't have resource, some of the SDF will be retained and some of the SDF may be required to be dropped. So depending upon the ARP value, which SDF flow is to be retained and which one to be dropped is decided. So higher the ARP value, higher the chances of retention that. So ARP value of 1 will have higher priority compared to ARP value of 2. And there will be different ARP for home customers and there will be different ARP value for roaming customers. Priority is given for the home customers. Then the parameter will also contain reflective QoS attribute RQA, and this is for guaranteed bit rate kind of. So the RQA is a parameter which is used by UE to apply the reflective QoS as we discussed. The third is the notification control. So this is important. So suppose a SDF service data flow is running onto a QoS flow onto the network, and there is some resource crunch onto the radio, say for example, and a particular QoS flow is not being maintained. So in that case, the G node B will inform to the PCF, of course through MF and all, that a particular QoS flow ID it is not able to maintain. So that PCF knows that and it can apply charging and SLA control. And suppose after some time it again is able to maintain the quality of service, it will try to maintain the quality of service flow, and suppose it has started maintaining that, it will again send a notification to PCF that it has restored the required quality of service of a particular QoS flow. So that is the notification control which is there in the 5G. Now there is a concept of flow bit rate. So in case of a guaranteed bit rate, some of the bit rate are to be guaranteed. So we call it GFBR, guaranteed flow bit rate. So when we say flow, we are talking about QoS flow. For a particular QoS flow, there is a parameter called guaranteed flow bit rate. So how many bit rate would be guaranteed is decided here. So those is the minimum guaranteed bit rate, and there is also a limit of maximum flow bit rate which can be configured for a GBR, guaranteed bit rate. So maximum is the highest value of bit rate which can be provided to a QoS flow. So GFBR and MFBR, two kinds of flow bit rate for guaranteed bit rate QoS flow. Now there is a concept of aggregate bit rate. So aggregate could be at the level of session. So within the session, the total bit rate, and there could be aggregate bit rate at the UE level itself. As I said that UE may have more than one PDU session. So at UE level also there will be some aggregate bit rate. So these are kind of a subscription parameter, and once a user has some kind of subscription, it will be the aggregate bit rate will be managed according to that. So and this is for non-GBR, non-guaranteed bit rate, because guaranteed bit rate are managed using GFR and MFBR, GFBR and MFBR. All those non-guaranteed bit rate kind of QoS flow. So when we add all the bit rate of every QoS, we will only add non-GBR QoS flow bit rates for calculating aggregate bit rate and managing that. So there are two. So session level. So for a PDU session, we call it session UMBR, aggregate maximum bit rate. And when we talk about UE level, we call it UE UMBR, user equipment level aggregate maximum bit rate, which is allowed. And then we have parameter called maximum packet loss rate. So how much packet loss can be allowed for a particular quality of service flow is also defined. So these are the parameters which are there which are defined for a particular QoS flow. So now we will talk about 5G QoS indicator 5QI. So it's in scalar and it has got many characteristics. So what are those 5QI characteristics? So the first is that it defines what type of resource it is. The QoS flow, the resource could be guaranteed bitrate, resource could be delay critical guaranteed bitrate, or it could be a non-guaranteed bitrate, non-GBR. So 5QI will have a value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and every 5QI will have these characteristics. So for example, suppose 5QI1 may be a GBR resource type or non-GBR. We will discuss about that. So there are some standard value. Then you have a priority level. So every 5QI number having these characteristics will have a priority level. So this priority level is used to give priority to a particular 5QI, and also if there is no resource crunch, then allocation of resources, proportionate allocation of resources is done using the priority level which it may have. And then there is a concept of packet delay budget. So a packet can be delayed how much? Maximum. So that is for every QoS flow ID, QFI, and corresponding 5QI parameter, there will be a packet delay budget defined. So any packet delay beyond that will not be tolerated. So either it will be considered as lost, or there could be certain other treatment. And then packet error rate. So how much error can be tolerated onto the network? So whether it's 10 to the power minus 6, 10 to the power minus 4, those are the parameters defined for packet error rate. And these are for every 5QI value. And then you have an averaging window. So averaging window is nothing but a time period, for example, maybe 2000 milliseconds. So within that millisecond, this packet error rate and other parameters which we earlier discussed will be calculated. And then we have maximum data burst volume. So this is used for delay critical GBR resource type. So what happens is that in a delay critical data burst volume, delay critical GBR, which will be used for URLLC kind of services, ultra reliable low latency kind of services. So there is a requirement that within the packet delay budget, a set of data. So for example, let us take an example that 256 byte of data is maximum data burst volume. So that must be transmitted or received within the packet delay budget which is defined. If it is going beyond packet delay budget, then those packets will be considered as lost, and those will be counted in packet error rate. So this is important for delay critical GBR resource type. So now that we have discussed all the characteristics and parameters, now we will go and see that the standard value of 5QI, which is defined by 3GPP as of now up till release 16. So these are smaller, but I'll just explain. So those parameters which I talked about, resource type, priority level, packet delay budget, packet error rate, default maximum data burst volume, and default averaging window, these are here. And in this table, it is for guaranteed bitrate type resource, GBR we call it. So now, so there are numbers. So 5QI 1, 2, 3, 4, 65, 66. So these numbering are actually assigned similar to 4G, so that they have tried to map all the 4G QoS related aspect in 5G, so that when there is a roaming between 4G and 5G, the mapping of QoS flow is accordingly same, so that it is easy. And there could be certain new numbers which may not be there in 4G but will be supported in 5G, but whatever was there in 4G, they are mapped here. So let's take an example of 5QI1. So 5QI1 is a GBR type resource guaranteed bitrate, and the priority level given is 20. So some other will have 40, 30, 50 and so on, but this is given 20. So what is the packet delay budget? The maximum packet delay which can be tolerated for this particular service. And we are talking about a normal voice service onto 5G network. For the voice service, these parameters are getting defined. So the default priority level is 20. Packet delay budget given is 100 millisecond, and packet error rate which can be tolerated is 10 to the power minus 4. And this default maximum data burst volume is not for GBR, it is only for delay critical, so not applicable. And default averaging window is 2000 millisecond. That means packet error rate will be calculated for this window in 2000 millisecond. Packet error rate will be calculated, and that is how it will be maintained. So this is for voice. Now let me take another example just to compare, and next example is for live streaming, and the 5QI value is 2 here. This is also a GBR type resource, but just see the priority level given here is 40, which is priority is lower than the voice. Voice it was 20, video streaming it is 40. Even the packet delay budget here is 150 millisecond, wherein it was 100 milliseconds. So voice packet delay budget is more stringent compared to the video streaming. Packet error rate is same, 10 to the power minus 4. Averaging window is also same. So the only difference here is the priority level and the packet delay budget in voice and video. Now let me take example of GBR. So this is a table where the resource type is non-GBR. So let us take, as I discussed voice in the previous slide, the voice signaling is treated differently as far as quality of service flow is concerned. So the voice signaling or the IMS signaling is not guaranteed bitrate, but some parameters are we can discuss. So it is a non-GBR kind of resource, and 5QI is given here is 5. Here priority level is 10. So just see, priority level for voice was 20 and for video streaming was 40. Here the priority is very high. So this will be given more priority compared to the two services which we discussed. The packet delay budget is 100 milliseconds, same as the voice, but the packet error rate is very stringent. Here it is 10 to the power minus 6. Earlier it was only 10 to the power minus 4 for voice. And these parameters are not applicable in case of non-guaranteed bitrate because we are not measuring those. Now let me take one example of delay critical GBR type resource. So let me take example of V2X messages for advanced driving, vehicle to everything kind of a messages. So the 5QI given here is 86 and priority level is 18. So it is better than voice it was 20. The most important is packet delay budget because it has to be very reliable. So the delay cannot be accepted. Very low latency requirement is there for vehicle autonomous driving and all. So there the packet delay budget defined here is 5 millisecond and error rate is 10 to the power minus 4. And since it is a delay critical GBR, so it will also have default maximum data burst volume, which is 1354, and then averaging window of 2000 millisecond. So when I say default maximum data burst volume, so that means within this 5 millisecond of packet delay budget, if 1354 bytes of data is not received, then the data would be, the packet would be considered to be lost and they will be counted in the packet error rate. So this is how the parameters of characteristics of 5QI values are defined as a standard value which operators and need to use, and OEM need to actually configure this. But the point is that these are not end. So the 5G network can have its own 5 QoS values depending upon the QoS requirement. So these are the defined table. Other than also they can have some service requiring different quality of service flow which can be used. So it's not that the network has to use only the standard value, but it can use even the custom value for a particular quality of service flow. So now let's go and come. So let's now discuss about quality of service rule, quality of service profile, and SDF template. So let us take the same example of an UE trying to use video streaming service. So the application function would talk to PCF, policy control function, and tell that a particular UE want to avail video streaming service. So what PCF will do is that it will create a PCC rule and send it to SMF for that to establish a quality of service flow wherein kind of a guaranteed bitrate or whatever kind of QoS flow is required for that, it will ask the SMF to create. So it will send a PCC rule. So based on PCC rule, SMF creates three things. One, it creates quality of service rule for UE. Second, it creates a quality of service profile that is meant for G node B. And third, it creates SDF template, which is for UPF, user plane functions. So what it is, what are these things? So let me discuss. So as we discussed about two-step mapping for quality of service flow, wherein the IP packets which are coming from data network or application to UPF, so there those IP flows are mapped to a particular QFI, quality of service identifier, QFI. So that is first level of mapping in downlink direction, and at G node B level those are mapped to DRBs. So that is the second level of mapping in a downlink direction. Similarly, so the UPF will require those filters so that IP flows it can filter and map to a correct QFI. So those service data flow templates are provided here by the SMF based on the PCC rule which it gets. SMF provides SDF template to UPF. So it's kind of a rule which help it filter the packet and apply correct QFI as required. Similarly, the SMF passes on QoS rule to UE. So in case of a traffic in the say uplink direction going towards data network, so what it does is that it filters those packets based on the QoS rule and applies a particular QFI. So this is also a kind of a filtering process, and it also map those QFIs to a particular DRB in consultation with G node B. So that work is also done. So so the QoS rule and SDF template. What is QoS profile is the we discussed about 5 QI values, right, and the characteristics. So all those parameters has to be applied onto the radio. So those are part of actually QoS profile. 5 QI values characteristics are part of QoS profile which SMF provides to the access network, and then access network or the G node B enforces that. In addition, it will also provide other parameters like UE number or session number, ARP, reflective QoS parameter, etc. etc. If whatever parameters are required as part of QoS profile, those are provided by SMF to Z node B. So this is how a QoS rule, QoS profile, and SDF template are given to a different network element, and they accordingly act upon so that correct quality of service is applied to a particular service data flow. Now we have reached to the end of the slide where we will just discuss the quality of service flow in 5G, and we'll compare that with quality of service flow in 4G. So 5G we have already discussed. So let's see the 4G diagram where you have UE at one side, and then you have radio network. There we call it E node B, and then of course we have 5G core. So basically uh, so onto the user plane, what you get from the G node B, it goes to serving gateway, and then it goes to PDN gateway, and then to the packet data network. So here so what you see here is that it is kind of an EPS bearer, we call it EPS bearer, and onto that you have uh, data radio bearer and S1 bearer, and combinedly these are called ERAB, and then S5 and asset bearer. But the point to note here is that there is a one-to-one mapping from here to here. So it is one-to-one mapping of the quality of service flow, wherein here you have two-step mapping. So one mapping for the DRB, other mapping of QFI based on the filters which UPF have at one side, or the QS rule being provided to the UE in the uplink direction. So that is the difference, and here we call it PDU session, and there we call it EPS bearer. So that is the difference, and here you have a single tunnel for a PDU session on the right side. So this is the difference. Let's go into slightly more detail of the difference which we have. So let's talk about different parameters. So quality of service identifier in 5G is called 5G QI, that is QoS identifier, 5QI, which you talked about. The equivalent parameter is QCI, quality of service class identifier in 4G. Here we call it QoS flow. So all the quality of service is managed in QoS flow, and in the 4G it is EPS bearer. And the bearer identifier or the flow identifier here is a QFI, quality of service flow identifier. QFI has a number, and there you have a EPS bearer ID, EBI. In 5G we have reflective QoS, that was not there in 4G, and data session is called PDU session, protocol data unit session, and there we used to call PDN connections. So with this our session is over. So thank you very much for going through the presentation. If you have any question, you can write down in the comment box. I'll try to answer. If you have any other topic in mind which you want me to cover, you just tell me in the comment box. I'll try to cover that also. And if you like this video, you can share with your friends, and if you want to look for new sessions on new topics, you please subscribe to the channel by clicking the subscribe button. So thank you very much.